Let's get down to business.
Hello and welcome to tonight's podcast, Image X podcast. Here we have a past student, but more importantly, pro boxer, European champion, Irish champion, Gary the Diva Cully.
Yes.
How are we getting on, Gary?
Good, Johnny. Good to be here. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while. I think the last time we spoke was probably through, a gym, wasn't it? In a car park of a gym, through a window of a brand new present you bought yourself, wasn't it?
Yeah, through my new car that time, yeah.
Was that after the Woodruff fight, or was that after the European?
That would have been after Katochikov, I would say, yeah. So the European title. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Nice little present after becoming European champion.
Yeah, no, I've a sponsor, Autoclass Motors, so they've been looking after me since the start of my career, and after that fight, it was a nice little upgrade, so yeah.
Lovely.
Still in it.
You're still in it, yeah?
Yeah, lovely.
Waiting on the new upgrade when you become world champion, I suppose.
Yeah, Range Rover next, so.
Nice.
Not far off that.
Lovely stuff. Okay, well, I tell you what, we'll get to all that in a minute. Becoming European champion, Irish champion. Starting off, obviously, you're a young boy growing up in Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Decided to join a gym. What made you join the boxing club? How old were you, actually?
7 I was when I first went to the boxing club, and you're actually meant to be, the age to start was 8. The youngest to start was 8, but me and my brother grew up in the same estate, obviously, and we were very close because he's only 2 years older than me. And we had 2 cousins who lived in the same estate as well, and the 3 of them, so there was a group of the 4 of us, and the 3 of them used to go to the boxing club every week. The 2 lads, James and Shane, their dad was a coach down in the club. And then he brought Dean, obviously, because he was the right age. But out of the 4 of us, I was the one who always fought and was always out fighting on the road and stuff. And he was 2 years older than me, Dean, but I used to be the bigger brother. I used to beat him up, like. So I remember hounding my ma for 6 or 8 months. Where's he going? He was gone for, like, we were 2 years apart, so 2 hours twice a week he was gone. So I was, where's he gone? And she wouldn't tell me for a while. And then eventually told me he was gone down to the boxing club. I hounded her to bring me down. She brought me down to Paul, and he, obviously I was too young at the time. He said, look, just let him in and tip around. And then ever since then, down in the parish hall in Nice it was. I remember when I first joined, when I first started sparring, I had to hit the lads used to wear their groin guards, because I was the youngest in the club. So the lads used to wear their groin guards, and I was so small, I used to have to spar them, hit their groin guards, like. But yeah, that's going back nearly 20 years now. So 26 now. So started when I was 7. That's how it started.
Right, okay. And how long was it before you got your first bout then? So boy 1 is probably 8 years old, is it?
Boy 1 is 11. You're not actually allowed. So we would have had a couple of not unlicensed, but club shows where you can't enter competition. You can't fight competitively until you're 11. So up until from about 8 till 10, 11. I would have had like a couple of club shows where they're always just draws, exhibition bouts. And then entered the All Ireland, the Leinster Championship. Sorry, you have to win that first. Entered that when I was 11, boy 1, and fought in that every year since then, and the All Ireland too. So,
lovely. And how did you get on in your first year?
I won. Michael Andrews was a tournament. It was like all of Leinster. I won that. Won Kildare Leagues, Kildare Championships, Michael Andrews Championships, Leinster Championships. Got to the All Ireland final. Got beaten by Luke Thomas. He's a friend of mine now, actually from Cork. He beat me in the All-Ireland final, and I went on then for 4 or 5 years, won everything up until the All-Ireland final, and got beaten in the All-Ireland final every year for first 4 years. I had a mental block that I could get to the final, I could beat everybody, and whoever beat me in the final, if I'd have fought them in the semi-final, I would have beaten them. But just when I got to the final, I had that little mental block, and for the first 4 years, I got beaten in finals, and then eventually broke the duck. I won one when I was 14, and then won 15, 16, 17, won the national youths. Then went on, won the European Championships as an amateur, and turned senior then. So once I broke the duck,
you went and won everything.
Won everything the following years, but up until 14, I got to the final every year. Yeah.
Where was the European Championships? You won that. What year was that when you won that?
2013. That was
2013
in Rotterdam, Netherlands.
And how many bouts did you have to do to win that tournament?
5 bouts, 5 days.
5 bouts in 5 days.
Yeah, and as well as that, in amateur boxing, you have to make weight every day you fight as well. So I'm 6'2". I wasn't far off what I am now, probably maybe 6 foot. And 17 years old, and I had to make 52 kilos every day. That's what weight I fought over there, flyweight. So I had to make 52 kilos over there. It
That's
was
tough
just,
going.
yeah, it was hard. It was, got the draw, got my lunch, got ready to fight, went and fought, got out every day, got out, put the sweatsuit on, skipping rope half an hour, shadow boxing half an hour, 20 minutes pads, like an hour and a half training after every bout every day to make way for the following morning. And funny story, I remember in the final, so the weight limit was 52 kilos. So the first day I weighed in 51.5, second day 51.6, 51.7, 51.8. By the time the final came around, I was fighting a guy from Azerbaijan in the final. He weighed in 51.8 or something, I remember, on the scales. And I went to get on the scales. I was tight at the weight because it'd been the 5th day in a row that I had to make weight. And I just said, on the check scale, so it was 52.1 or something. And I said to my coach, I'm getting on the scales. I tried to go toilet. He said to skip for 20 minutes or something. I said, I'm not skipping. I was dead at the weight. I said, I'm getting on the scales, whatever I am now, I'm fighting. Or I'm not fighting, I'm getting disqualified, whatever it is. I'll take my boxers off or whatever. And got on the scales 52.0. I actually didn't think I was going to make the way for the final. 52.0 went on, won the European Championships 2013, and turned senior then after that.
Turned senior after that, yeah.
Yeah, that was 17 and 18. So I was 17. It was youth championships, 17 and 18-year-olds. I was actually the year younger. I actually had another year youth. I went. So I was telling you there, I fought 52 kilos in 2013. I actually fought in the same championships in 2014 European Championships in Zagreb at 64 kilos. So I went up 3 or 4 weight divisions in the space of a year, because once I let my body grow and allowed it to not make weight for a couple of weeks, it shot up, and I was fighting 64 kilos then the following year.
Yeah, there's no coming back then.
No.
That's not probably. Did you have to take off your boxer shorts at the end, or did you make the weight?
You know what? I said to the coach at the time, I said, I'll take off my boxers on the scales, and he said it's a certain rule in Ireland. We're Ireland, we don't do that. Other countries may do that, but we don't do that. So I said, fair enough. Well, if I get on and I'm 0.1 overweight, I'm being disqualified. I'm not doing any more to make this weight. So
fair play, because you had to bring them off there against Joe, didn't you?
Against Joe Fitzpatrick, I had to take them off.
The towel had to go up, didn't it?
Yeah, well, I like to. When I'm making weight, I like to just touch the weight, because there's no point being a kilo or two under, because you're looking for advantage, you know. So yeah. I like to touch the weight. If the weight's 61 kilos, I touch 61.0. That's it, and then rehydrate and refuel.
Lovely. So towards the end of your amateur career, then you turned senior. Did that old sort of the monkey on your back, did it come back again then, because you got into a final again, didn't you, and didn't quite make it? You just fell short. I entered
the senior championship. Won the transition then the youth to seniors. You go intermediates and then senior. So I entered the Leinster intermediates, won them. Entered the All Ireland intermediates, won them with 3 fights in them. And then I entered the seniors 2014 or 15. Got to the semi-final. George Bates beat me in my first year as a senior. And went back, regrouped, tried to gain a bit of experience. We went to Slovakia over the summer then. Fought in a tournament over there, won a gold medal over there. Came back 2016, tried to qualify for Rio. The senior championships were obviously the first qualifications for whoever won seniors in Ireland was going to the European qualifiers. I got beaten by David Oliver Joyce on a split decision, who then went on to qualify for Rio, a fight that I thought I won. It was 3-2 split decision. So me and Davey actually ended up being teammates then in the pros. 2 of us were trained under Pete Taylor, but he went on, he beat me. I was young at the time. I think I was only early 20s, maybe even less than that, but Davey was well experienced at that stage. He went on and he beat me in the seniors, went on, beat George Bates, beat Sean McComb in the Irish Senior Championships, which was like three high level fights. 3 of us were fighting international at the time, so he had a good senior championships, beat the 3 of us, and then went on and qualified for Rio.
That's 3 good scalps, that is.
Exactly.
Even Sean McComb then.
Sometimes they say that getting out of Ireland is actually harder than winning a medal abroad, like you get, because the quality we have in Ireland. So if you get out of Ireland, you've a better chance of winning medals in Europeans or Worlds than you do of actually winning Irish championships, because of the quality we have here. And he fought three established internationals and beat the 3 of us. So he went on then and qualified and did well at Rio.
That was a big year for him, to be fair, because he was knocking around a good while, wasn't he? They were talking about him becoming pro way before that. So that was kind of his last real go at the amateurs, wasn't it?
And I think Davey won his first senior when he was 18 or something as well. So he was around a very long time, very experienced. He was fighting APB, which was the amateur pro boxing that was going on for a while, fighting in WSB. Very, very experienced guy, and that was his last hurrah. And I think if he didn't qualify, then he probably would have retired. He mightn't have even went into the pros. So he beat me, beat Sean, beat George, qualified for Rio, had a good run out there, and then turned pro and had a good career in the pros then for a couple of years as well.
He did. Well, he had, I think the night you won your Irish title, did he win the European Championship?
He fought Haskins, Lee Haskins. I think that was his last fight, maybe second last fight.
I think he fought once since then. Yeah, he got a defeat since then, didn't he? And then retired.
But he had a good career. I think he won that European, WBO European at 2 different weights. So
yeah, he done well.
He done well. If he had it, I think if he had went into the pros a little bit earlier, obviously he got the Olympics out of the amateurs, but if he had went into the pros a little bit earlier and been a little bit younger, a bit fresher, he would have done a lot better. But
I think so. That was an old Haskins that night as well, wasn't it?
Yeah. He
still showed his skills early.
I remember seeing him in the change room or just before the fight, and he had a knee brace on, and Davey was coming towards the end as well, and Haskins was actually he was who Ryan Burnett won his first world title off, so he'd been around the block as well and been a very experienced guy. So
yeah,
but yeah, Davey had a good career in the pros, beat some good guys.
Did indeed. Okay, so back to yourself then. So you've come to the end. You decided then that amateurs was enough for you. You didn't qualify for Rio. Were you a little bit sort of disappointed with the amateurs, or what made you turn pro to do that jump?
Oh yeah, I didn't qualify was one thing. I would have been 24 then by the time Tokyo came around, and then obviously what we seen last year with COVID, it was actually happened a year later, so I would have been 25 when Tokyo Olympics came around, and I was actually training with the team then after the senior championships. I was sent to Stranja, it was a multi-nations tournament out in Bulgaria, training away with the Irish senior team up in the high performance, and I was 60 kilos at the time. Michael Conlon was fighting at 56 kilos. I remember training with him up the whole way to the Olympics, training with the team, sparring Michael, and then so we would have been quite close, like all of us. And then seeing him going out, he went out to Rio to win gold, and seeing how dedicated he was and how much work he put into the camp before Rio, and what happened to him out there when he was robbed by nicotine was absolutely scandalous. So I remember watching that on the TV at home, and I felt like I was finished with boxing then after that. But obviously the pros came along. I kept training. I've always kept training, and the offer to turn pro came along then, and I took that and never looked back since.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was a disappointing decision, all right, and everybody felt a little bit. There was a lot of ill feeling about that result. So you decided to turn pro. You mentioned Pete Taylor there before. Who goes looking for you? Do you look for him? Did he look for you? How does that happen in that relationship?
My manager at the time, he managed Davey as well. So Pete actually didn't train any pros at the time, and he just put Davey in touch with Pete. And Davey went up, and I think he'd only had 1, maybe 2 fights under Pete at the time. I went up then. I said I'd go up and meet Pete and have a little meeting and do a little training session and see how we get on. And the second we started hitting pads together, it was just an instant click. He focuses on the technical side of boxing, and that's the side of boxing I love as well. So I think we're a perfect match the moment we started training together. And yeah, he's improved me, like came on leaps and bounds in the last couple of years since I've joined up with Pete. So I don't think I could have picked a better coach to go pro with.
Good decision, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
So that's 2017. Late on in 2017, you end up having 3 fights before the Christmas from September. 3 fights in that 1 year.
Yeah.
2 stoppages in the distance. I think they were 3-4 rounders, weren't they?
3-4 rounders, yeah. So I would have met Pete in probably maybe June, July. Had my debut then in the Devonish in Belfast Small Hall show, and sold maybe 200 tickets. Family, friends all came up. That ended first round 40 odd seconds. Tolosi was the guy's name, Bulgarian. Beat him, and then I got a chance to go on to a big card then, the SSE Arena. Ryan Burnett fought Zakianov, I think his name is, to unify the world titles. That was in October. Fought on that card then. I opened the show against Josh Thorne. Stopped him as well, 3rd round of a 4-rounder. And then fought again in November on a Frampton bill in the SSE. So first 3 fights, 2 of them were in the SSE Arena on big cards.
Big shows, yeah.
Yeah, no, I opened the shows both times. So there wasn't much of a huge crowd there or anything, but it was a big occasion for me, especially when I just turned pro, obviously. I was only a couple of months pro, and them two big cards came along. So I fought Kane Baker at the time, who we've actually become good friends since as well. But he was 4-1 and only lost to Conor Ben. I remember travelling to the weigh-in and texting my manager. My original opponent pulled out on the Monday, I think, or Tuesday of fight week. And we were trying to get an opponent all week, and on the Friday, the fights would have been on the Saturday. I was travelling up to Belfast on the Friday, and texting my manager, ringing my manager, no answer. Still had no opponent confirmed. And when I got to the weigh-in, we literally only had Kane Baker confirmed maybe an hour before I got to Belfast. So he stepped in on short notice the day before. I weighed 136 or something, which was a pound over the lightweight limit. I think he came in at 147 pounds or something, 4-1 record. And it's like the situation you're in then is you've sold 100 tickets, all your friends and family are coming up, you're on a big card here. Do you want to pull out or are you going to fight? So it was my third professional fight, and he came in, I think like 11 pounds or something crazy heavier than me. 4-1 record. I said, look, I'll take it. And put him down in the third, won the fight convincingly, and he's actually been over to Dublin to me a couple of times sparring since, and we've become good friends since. And I think he's actually got an English title challenge soon.
Oh, does he?
His record's still 14-5 or something, 14 wins, 5 losses, so he's doing quite well.
He's doing well, yeah. That was a good chance that you took there. You could have easily have shied away from that one. You'd have been forgiven if you did, actually, to be fair. But it's amazing what that you could take a chance. It could pay off. That was definitely a big payday, wasn't it?
Yeah, big time. And I think you have to, especially like boxing, such a short career. I know you have to be managed well and guided correctly. But I've been pro 5 years now, and not once have I been offered a fight that I've said no to. And I think we need to get more fighters doing that. There's a lot of fighters, a lot of people turn pro in Ireland over the last couple of years, and it costs money to be a pro. If you're fighting around in small hall shows, you're paying opponents and you're selling tickets and stuff, and it's not easy. And a lot of guys could do it, especially when myself and Joe fought and stepped up and fought each other. He was 10-0, I was 9-0. That was the first time that had happened in years in Ireland, because a lot of lads are too worried about keeping that O and protecting the record, and they'll rather fight guys with 5 wins and 50 losses just to keep that record going, and they're probably paying 2 and 3 grand a time, rather than step up. It's a short career, and see, I'm going to keep challenging myself. I always say to people, there will be come a time when I'll probably lose a fight, because when I win a world title at 135, I want to step up to 140 and challenge the champions there, and do it at 140. I want to step up to 147, and I'm going to just keep challenging myself until probably someone's too big and too strong or too good, but I want to keep pushing and seeing where I can get to. So
you get to a stage there where you swing that hook and it just stops having the same effect.
Exactly, and I'm sure that will happen. And look, when it does, it does. But I'd rather do that and challenge myself and know I've got to the limit that I can reach. You know what I mean? Rather
you're definitely punching above your weight anyway at the minute, aren't you?
Exactly. Yeah. But I put in a lot of hard work as well. So, the results are, people always look kind of a little bit surprised about the results, but they're expected as well.
Yeah, it's negative in 2 ways as well, though. You see, guys, you mentioned yourself and Joe there. One was 9-0, one was 10-0, and you see, it's easier to shy away from those. But you go and fight a journeyman, you don't look good against them. They're all quit. They're there just to survive.
Yeah.
So you're not going to show the whole world or the whole of Europe your skills anyway. It's impossible to look good against some of them guys.
Them guys are like you said, pros at just surviving, because if you get stopped, you can't fight for 28 days or something, and they want to be on the road every week earning money. So
you want another payday.
Exactly. So every week they could be earning maybe 1,000 or 2,000 quid on the road, traveling here, traveling there, fighting all prospects. So you get stopped, you're not fighting the following week. So not many of them actually come to win. Now, if they have a good first round and they see that they might be able to push a guy a little bit, then they might go for the win. But a lot of times they just come to do the round, especially when you're starting off your career. They're doing 4-rounders. I had a fight in Belfast against Ronaldo. Kahina was his name. I think it was my 7th or 8th fight, and again had an opponent pull out on the Monday. he stepped in on the Wednesday, came over, and most frustrating fight in my whole career. And look, if I'd have fought him 10 times, he could never have beaten me. So I knew that in the changing room warming up for this fight. So it's hard to get up for them fights as well because you've no fear. I like when somebody says the two opponents or the two fighters and somebody thinks it's a 50-50 or he might beat him, or it gives you that little bit of fear factor where you have to put the work in, but with the likes of these journeymen, 10 out of 10 times I could have beaten the guy I was fighting. So it's hard to get up for, and then they're so defensive, they're so negative, and like you said, it's hard to look good against them as well.
You won't look good against them, no. And to be fair, they equally are, okay, they could get a bit adventurous now and again, but they don't really want to put it up and stop you because that's there. Like, no one's going to get them again if they're going to beat prospects,
Well, they're being brought over to lose, you know what I mean?
And I know they don't want to, and now and again they'll put it up, but it doesn't make good business sense for them to win, especially to be a young prospect, who's coming through.
Yeah.
So that brings you on to 2018 then. So that was a busy year for you. That was 4 bouts in the year. You just mentioned your bout number 7 there. Up in Belfast. So at that stage, you had 4 fights all up in Belfast, weren't they?
Yeah, I think the first 10 or 11 were all up in Belfast. So 4 would have been. I think I was back in the Devonish for the 4th one in a small hall show for Hungarian guy, if I'm right, Palola, which again he fights at. I think he actually fights at light middleweight now or something. So stepped up a little bit of weight there. Again, he was a journeyman and came to survive, but with that being that little bit heavier, he had a little bit more about him. Physicality in close, a little bit stronger, but got through that one. That was number 4. Could be wrong here. 5 could have been Kahina actually, and then there was Kambulata and somebody else. But that was a busy year. 4 fights in Belfast, 4 wins again, building blocks. So the first 3 were 4-rounders, and then I think the Palola one in February of 2018 would have been a 4-rounder, and then I stepped on to 6s, and probably by the end of 2018 maybe stepped on to an 8 as well.
I think so, yeah. I think you did 2 4s and 2 6s, I think, going into 2019 actually, whereas that wasn't a productive year for you, 2019.
2019 was the year I got injured, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I got a bad cut on my hand after Brian Morena, so that kept me out for 6 or 8 months.
Where did you hit? Where did you? Obviously, there must be a point in the bout where you go, oh.
Yeah, no, there actually wasn't.
No.
It was a 6-rounder, and I hit quite hard. Like I can punch quite hard, especially for my weight, for a lightweight. So every time I land a left hand, I can't feel a shock through my hand. Like, but it was just normal, same as any other fighter, any other spar, and landed a lot of clean shots, to be fair. And I think like these guys, the journeymen that come over from like the likes of Nicaragua and stuff, they have quite hard heads. They're hardened, like, because they're so used to taking shots. So he was just walking through shots all night. And I remember we were meant to do an interview then after, and the guys were taking off the gloves after the fight, and just took off the glove, and puddle of blood came out of the glove at the time, and my wrap, obviously, which was white when it was wrapped, was covered in blood, red. And then instantly from then, my face went white and went into shock. Then spent the night celebrating in A&E with my missus. 6 stitches, that kept me out for 6 months. Probably rushed back again because it actually opened up again in after Simeon, which would have been the fight before last. It opened up again. I had to get 6 more stitches in it. So that between March, which was my last fight against Vasquez, and the one before that, it was 9 months out of the ring because that injury, the first injury, opened up again, and I had to go and get stitches in that again. So I've had a couple of periods where I've been injured and stuff not going right for me, which probably takes a year off my career, which I would have liked to maybe have 3 or 4 more fights. But yeah, I feel like everything's going at the right pace now, and we're moving in the right direction. I'm in the right place. But yeah, I could have been a little bit further, I believe. Like,
so you were that brings you up after those 2 bouts. That brings you up to 9-0, I think. So yeah. you actually came to do a course with us. That's when I met you. At the end of 2019, you would have had your 9th fight then, wouldn't you? And then that brings you on to 2020, you got another couple of fights in there. The big one against Joe.
10th fight was the Irish title fight.
The Irish title fight.
Yeah, that was my first title fight. First kind of big occasion.
Is it on your Christmas card list?
Yeah, do you know what? Since I turned pro, like, not many people actually get to fight for the Irish title and win the Irish title, because it's for me it's a prestigious title. I want to become the champion of Ireland and be the champion of my country. But for some reason, in the amateurs, it's always it's a big thing. But in the pros, you don't really see that many people fighting for it. They'll step on a little bit sooner, or maybe challenge for a European title or some sort of ranking belt instead of going for the Irish title. But I always said, before I even turned pro, when I was an amateur, I wanted to become Irish champion, European, and then go into world. I wanted to do it the right way. And then, you know, I didn't think it was going to happen for a while, because from probably 2 and 3-0, I was calling names and calling guys who was like 19 wins and 1 loss, or 18 wins and 2 losses, 8-0, 9-0. I was like, from when I was 2 and 3-0, I was calling anybody in Ireland to fight for the Irish title. And for a while, I was putting up these tweets and trying to get a bite and nobody bit. And then Joe came back, and he was a while out of the ring. I think 18 months out of the ring. Came back and had a fight, won a Celtic Nations title, and claimed after the fight in his interview that he was the best lightweight in Ireland or something. Obviously knew I'd be crying out for the fight, so I said, yeah, nice one. Let's get an offer on the table. Got in contact with my manager. In fairness to him and his team, it only took about a week. They were very easy to deal with. They wanted the fight as well.
And he was undefeated himself at the time.
He was 10-0, yeah. He was 10-0. I was 9-0. So he was a little bit older than me. He was actually Commonwealth silver medalist in the amateurs, like 9 or 10 Irish titles as well. So he'd been around the block as an amateur. 10-0 as a pro. I think he'd maybe 7 or 8 knockouts as well. So people used to call him. People thought of him as a puncher. But yeah, I wanted to fight and he wanted to fight. We made it happen. It was my first title fight. He'd just won the Celtic title, and up to Belfast, up to his hometown. Probably to be honest, looking back, it's the best night of my career so far, I think. Just because the build up, it was, like I said again, I knew from the get go it wasn't a 50-50 fight, but everybody else thought it was. So it was great for me in the build up and doing all these interviews, and it was the first kind of big build up where people wanted to do interviews and hear about the fight and talk to me about the fight. And the whole build up was, this is a 50-50 fight, 50-50 fight. It's all I kept hearing, and it was quite amusing to me, to be honest with you. I knew it would end the way it did, not so early. I didn't think it would go so early, but I did think I was a couple of levels above. And yeah, it was February 2020. Our exams here were on the Tuesday. I remember doing exams here on the Monday and the Tuesday or something, or fight week weighed in on the Friday. Then I remember doing my practical exam, and I was water loading at the time, 9 litres of water. I had to run to the jacks in between. But yeah, then up to Belfast, and brought maybe 150, 200 people up there. He had all his friends and fans and family. We were like walking to Nando's after the weigh-in, being shouted at, being roared at. It was great, hostile atmosphere.
It was a good atmosphere. Was that one we said?
Yeah, I remember you being there too. But yeah, even the walkout and stuff, and there was like drinks being thrown in the ring after, and all that kind of stuff.
To be fair, you did have a little celebration in front of his corner though.
And you know, I didn't even realise it was his corner at the time. And I had a plan the whole way up. Yeah, my plan of I was going to knock him out and I was going to turn. So he had a couple of mates who were like at me on Facebook and social media the whole lead up to the fight. He's going to do this, and then in fight week when they seen me, they were at me, and I had a vision in my head of knocking him out and just turning and doing that to all them. And the second it ended, it's just like emotions took over onto the road. My brother jumped in the ring, picked me up, but yeah, unreal night, unreal. That was my first title, so. Yeah, memories that'll last a lifetime as well.
That was a really, really special night.
Yeah.
Very good night. Yeah. You finished off that fight with you actually that year you went over. That was your first time you went over to England, then, wasn't it? Yeah. Did he step in late? Did he, Craig Woodruff?
Yeah. So after that was actually the Fitzpatrick fight would have been the last fight in Ireland pre-COVID. So it was the last live show for maybe 2.5 years or so.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the first lockdown came about, and nobody really knew what was going on for a while. But I remember you couldn't get into gyms and stuff. But myself and Niall Barrett down in Nace, Unit 3 Health and Fitness, where I train in Nace. Like, I knew there was no fights happening at the time, but I knew I was going to fight again. So we just took it as, right, let's get into camp and let's improve, and we did some crazy training throughout the first lockdown. Probably the hardest I've ever trained. Crazy runs, up the strength sessions, boxing every day, trained 10 sessions a week every week throughout the whole first lockdown, and then got an opportunity to fight. Kieran Getting was his name. He was Welsh champion at the time, 10-1. He was actually at 140. The fight was actually at 140. He used to fight at welterweight. It was 147. I fought at 135. So we were going to meet in the middle of fighting at 140. And 2 weeks before the fight, he pulled out. But the week before, I think he had an elbow injury or something. The week before that, I seen on Twitter. I'd followed Craig on Twitter, and he retweeted a picture of the poster saying, if either Cully or Getting get injured, I'm training. I'll happily step in. I'm fit. I'm ready to go. So as soon as he pulled out, I took a picture of the tweet, sent it to my manager. Craig's available. Send him on an offer. He took the offer straight away.
He's Welsh as well, wasn't he?
Welsh as well, yeah. Tough bios.
Yeah, well, that was a strange old night for two things. Number one, there was nobody there. It was behind closed doors, wasn't it?
Behind
so
closed
the
doors.
Atmosphere must have been strange compared to what you were used to up in Belfast. And then obviously it was all going absolutely according to plan. Everything you probably would have dreamt of. You were outboxing him. 4 rounds, absolutely beautiful, and then round 5 come along. What happened there?
Just took a silly shot in the 5th and went on my arse, didn't I? Yeah, but that fight, that was a strange fight because, like you said, it was the first one. It was one of the first shows since COVID and lockdowns, and it was like flying over, getting tests and stuff, and then we got to the hotel. You had to be tested entering the hotel. You had to go to your room straight from being tested. Go to your room, wait for 24 hours for your test results. Your food was all you ticked, filled out a sheet what food you wanted. That was all. Just you get a knock on the door, and it was in some travel lodge in Wakefield. Wakefield itself was very depressing, and then it was in a travel lodge, which was the most travel lodge I've ever stayed in my life. And we used to get a knock on the door. I open the door and there's just a brown bag sitting outside your door with your food in it. So it was like being in prison for a couple of days. And 2 weeks previous to that, I had a couple of personal problems going back on at home, and I remember the fight coming up, and couldn't bring me missus with me. Couldn't bring me like it was only myself and Pete who travelled over. Niall couldn't come with me, and it just felt a little bit off, and I remember going over the travelling over and just saying the goal here is just win at all costs, because I was in a situation I didn't really even want to be over there at the time. It was one of the strangest weeks in my life. I remember I was next door to Pete, and Pete was knocking on my door asking. There was an Aldi across the road, and Pete was wondering would we be allowed to go to the Aldi, and it was like being locked up for a week. And then I had a bit going on, like I said, back at home, and the final preparations of camp the last week or two didn't really go to plan. And I remember the fight day came along, and getting a text off Pete, the taxi would be downstairs at 4:30 or something, 5 o'clock to collect us. And it was the one text I actually didn't want to see. That text, I was like, I don't even want to go to this arena now to fight. So just made a deal with myself, leaving the hotel. I said, no matter what happens, win at all costs. Come back 10-0, or was it? Yeah, that was fight number 10 or 11.
11,
sorry.
yeah.
So come back to the hotel 11-0. No matter what happens, if you have to fucking run through a brick wall, just come back 11-0, win at all costs. So yeah, got in. Fight was going according to plan. Boxing the head off him, and then got caught a silly shot in the 5th round. Got put in my arse. But I remember looking over at Pete, and Pete saying to hold on. it was a flash knockdown, like, and it didn't really hurt, but I wasn't there for about maybe 40 or 50 seconds after, and looked over at Pete, and Pete said to me, hold on, and I went, I'm all right, I'm going to go for this here, like. And then I said, no, I better listen to Pete, I better listen to him. Went on, held on maybe 30 seconds, and then it was like a light coming back on in my head. Just switch went back on, and I was back then. I was grand. Won the rest of the round.
It's amazing because you won the first minute of the round.
Yeah.
Flash knockdown, like you say, you just walked onto a silly little shot with your hands down. You had probably 30 seconds of bedlam.
Yeah, and then won the rest.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, to be fair, apart from the knockdown, you probably outboxed him for 2 minutes of the round, you know?
Like, it was 8 3-minute rounds, 24 minutes, so I think I won at least 23 minutes of the fight, like, you know?
Well, yeah, so, that brings me on to the score. I mean, judges having 2 points of difference, you know, it's like, what was that all about?
77-75. I heard that, I said, I'm getting robbed here. Yeah. That was the first thought in my mind. I was like, Jesus Christ, but... Do you know, I actually look back, and when I'm looking back on my career now, I like to say I haven't lost a round yet. But in that fight, that's the only fight that technically I have lost a round in. But
yeah,
I don't think I have lost a round. And even if you want to say, the knockdown, I still think I won that round also.
Yeah, it's one rule that I disagree. It has to be scored a 10-8 round if you touch down.
Yeah.
But you could win the round. So I don't know why they can't bring it back to a 10-9 anyway. Mm-hmm. But a 10-8 round, when you boss the round and just fall over, get a little slip.
Yeah, it's 10-8 automatically, you know?
I hate that rule.
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
But even at that, with the knockdown, it could have been, I think, I maybe won the fight by 4 points or something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But then it was actually really close. I was thinking,
too close. So you dodged one there. You got out, even though it was plainly obvious. A blind man would see.
Yes,
that you won the bout.
Yeah.
So that finishes off that year, and then we're into 2021. Then, isn't it?
Yeah. So 2020 would have been only 2 fights. It was Fitzpatrick in February, and then Woodruff in August. So it would have been the pandemic and the first lockdown. Woodruff in August then.
And that together with 2019 with a hand injury, that's only
4 fights in 2 years, yeah. Which ideally starting off you'd want in your first 12, 14 fights, you'd want 4 fights a year, like, you know. So
yeah.
Probably lost out on a year.
You'd want a 2018, you want that to continue for 2 or 3 years, don't you?
Yeah.
And then obviously then so you go into your 13th, you win that, it's 13-0, and then that brings you up to the man himself. Vasquez.
Yeah, where we were after Woodruff would have been Katochikov.
Oh, Katochikov. Oh, so you have 2 fights, don't you, in 2021? So that was Katochikov.
That was 21.
That win Bolton, isn't it?
Yeah, Bolton Whites Hotel, Macron Stadium, where actually Bolton Wanderers play.
Oh, yeah, so this is the big one. This is the
that was absolutely. The WBO European, yeah.
Yeah.
He'd just come off. He was 12-0, and then Maxi Hughes went over and fought him on a show in Dubai, and Maxi put him down, I think, in the 2nd or 3rd round, and then Katochikov came back and came on strong, and it was quite a close fight by the end. It was for a WBC silver title, which is a world ranking title with the WBC. So he was 12-1, but he was like highly talked about, like Katochikov was. Maxi Hughes beat him on a close decision, and I remember getting the call and saying we can do Katochikov for the WBO European. Who do you want him next? Like, is that fight you're interested in? And as soon as it was mentioned for the WBO European ranking title, I said, yeah, 100%, let's go.
That was supposed to happen in Dubai, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, and then it got put back to. I think it only got put back a couple of weeks. But it was behind closed doors in the Bolton Whites Arena. But again, that's another one. Like, Fitzpatrick came to win, Woodruff came to win, Katochikov came to win as well. He'd dreams of becoming a world champion, and he was 12-0. He was on course to do that. He held that WBC silver title until Maxi Hughes beat him for that, on a close decision, and then he was coming over to get back and get back on track and get into the world rankings. That would have given him top 15 with the WBO. So he was coming to win, and that was probably the biggest test so far.
You made light work of that though.
Yeah, second round. Straight 1-2, put him down, and it's a highlight reel knockout. Like, it was just landed flush, and that was it. But he could have caused problems. Like he's really good. He's really talented, and I think I'm not sure if he's fought since, but I always said, and I always do say the same with the Fitzpatrick fight. I always try and say that it's actually not, like when I was calling these guys out and calling Fitzpatrick out or calling whoever out to fight for the Irish title, I always say it doesn't make a difference for you if two of us step up and I did what I did to Fitzpatrick. He can come back now and still have a good career. I'm going to go on, I believe, to win world titles, multiple world titles. But so that doesn't actually look bad on his career, on his record. You've one loss in your career, in your card, but it's to me when I go on and win world titles. You know, so it's to step up and fight and lose. To me, I don't think it's actually. It doesn't look bad on your record. It would probably actually look better on your record in years to come, you know.
Absolutely.
But Kotochikov is another one. I think he could come back and have a good career and get back into the world rankings and give it a go again. But he hasn't fought since. But that was another big test. He'd been around and very Kazakhs are. I think they could be number one in the world in the amateurs now at the moment. They're definitely top three.
Yeah.
But very technically sound, fundamentally good, but just on the night, I was on the ball on the night, you know.
That was two big tests. Obviously, you know, you had the bout that went the distance with Craig, the 8-rounder, but obviously the big test, your first one for the Irish title, and then the other one for the European title. You know, as soon as you get somebody in who comes to win, you've got, like, you know, they were talking about 50-50 fights. As soon as there's that little bit of pressure on you, step up and you seem to dismantle them. Like one round for Joe, 2 rounds.
I've said that I actually said that from the start of my career. Once guys start coming to win, that's when you'll see the best, because when these guys, like you said, these guys, the journeymen are pros at surviving. They know how to survive. They want to fight every week. They've been around the block, but when you get guys coming to win, they leave more openings because they're trying to win, so they're throwing shots back. And when they leave more openings, it's more gaps for me to find.
Yeah.
That linked in with the bigger the occasion, the better my performance is going to be, because I just get up for it more. I think I'm made for the biggest nights, and the bigger nights, the brightest lights. So when I get them opportunities to step up and win titles, or when there's pressure against me, he might not win, or it's a 50-50, that's when I perform the best, because that's what I believe I'm in the game for, and that's what I'm made for, the big nights, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've got one more there before you fight the former world champion, don't you? So you had what was your 13th bout?
Simeon Viral.
He was at the end of 2021, wasn't he?
Yeah, that was actually June 2021. It was the middle of 21.
It was your last fight of 21, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's when I got injured after that. Simeon was another good one he challenged for a world title. I think it was down at maybe super feather, maybe feather, which is 5 pounds below where I fight. But had fought Scott Quigg, brought Lee Selby close. Recently fought Shakur Stevenson before me, who's unified 2 divisions now. So he'd been around the block as well, and he knew his way around. I think his record was 22 wins and 5 losses.
22 wins.
Now I'll agree with everybody. He wasn't the freshest when I fought him. I think he was maybe 36 at the time when I fought him, so he was on the decline. But it was a type of fight that I needed to gain experience of fighting them type of guys, and you learn in no matter who it is. But the guys who have been up the levels, you learn more when you fight them. So that was the last fight of 2021, June 2021.
And you retired him. He retired on the stool after 3 rounds. So
after the
another big test. Another lad who's been in with some of the greats, and you're dismantling, making easy work of him again.
Like I said, it's that little bit of fear factor. Like if I say to myself, if I don't show up, I'm gonna lose, then that's when you automatically train harder, and then you'll automatically perform better because you have to. Whereas like the likes of, like I said to you, Kahina and stuff like that, if I don't perform well, if I perform at 50%, probably still going to win because I'm just levels above, you know. But when these guys, when you're stepping up the levels, and these guys who have been in with the best lads in the world, they've got the experience that if you're not on the ball, they'll find you out. So that was actually I'd a fight lined up before that got pulled. It was meant to be 3 or 4 weeks before that, and then I took my foot off the gas for a couple of weeks in the gym. Didn't think I was going to be fighting, stopped sparring, and then 3 weeks before that fight, got a phone call. Oh no, we found an opponent now. So I'd only 3 weeks sparring for that fight as well.
So you turn it off and you got to turn back on again.
It's hard to when you turn it off. It's hard to turn it back on straight away. But I had to get up for that fight as well. That was another challenge, was being in camp and then going, right, being a little bit deflated. Oh, I'm not fighting now. I was meant to fight in June. I'm not fighting. Being a little bit deflated, and then you get a call a week later and go, oh no, you actually are fighting now. All right, turn the engine back on. You're back getting ready for a fight in 2 or 3 weeks time.
So that brings you to this year, March. And to be fair, with the calibre of guys you're in now, you're probably happy to have 2 bouts a year, one at the beginning, one towards the end or after the summer. With the class of guys you're stepping in the ring with now. The last one wasn't bad, was he?
The last one was the best of the lot so far. Yeah, Miguel Vasquez is he's a legend. He's been in with Canelo twice. Timothy Bradley, Lewis Ritson, he was robbed against over here. Harry Davis. He'd 10 losses when I fought him. 44 wins, 10 losses, but
44 wins in itself. I mean, the experience there is unbelievable.
He'd held the IBF world title for 4 years, 8 defenses. So he was legit, again, 10 losses, but beat Ritson, beat Harry Davis, went in the away corner in Canada, I think 2 or 3 times as well. So he probably had more wins and less losses if we're being honest. And before that as well, so I fought in June. That one was March. That was 9 months. I think I was would have been around September time. Like I said earlier on, sparring, and took off the glove, and it was actually it's the same hand, the same knuckle, but completely different cut. That opened up again, so I had to go and get 6 stitches in that, and that kept me off punching from September till probably around December. Got the phone call about Vasquez was back punching maybe a week, only 2 weeks. Got the phone call for Vasquez the day before Christmas Eve, so that was like my little Christmas present. Switched on 7-8 week camp, and that was the big one because it was on that undercard of Conlon and Lee Wood. It was on a Matchroom show. There was big promotion behind it. It was a big Irish crowd coming over, obviously, to support Conlon as well. Yeah. I think Ireland were playing in the Six Nations rugby in England, playing England that day as well. So it was a massive day for Irish sport, as well.
Oh, tell me about it. My WhatsApp was hopping.
Yeah,
I was getting slated left, right, and centre. It was a miserable day for me.
Ireland won, obviously. Yeah. I didn't even follow rugby, but Ireland won. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hammered we were, but anyway, I know. To be fair, that was the one. I can remember you were just about to come on. I think about 20 minutes away, and I was texting me bro because the last time I was over at Christmas, I was showing him little clips of you. I said, "Look at this fella. He's gonna be whopper," and he is whopper. But anyway. He was showing him, so I texted him and I says, "Well," and I rings him because he didn't answer his text. I said, "What's the story with you?" I says, "Yeah, you got the telly in front of you or what?" He said, "I said, Cully's coming on now." He's like, "I'm out at the darts. There's a darts down in the old Legion."
Oh no way! He was
a telly, so he didn't get to see it. But there was a good night of boxing, a dramatic end to the whole night. To be fair,
yeah, that was the ending of the main event was crazy, and probably definitely the best live fight I've ever seen.
Well, if that's a rematch, if they were to ever get a rematch, who wins that?
I don't know. I'm siding with Conlon because Mick's me boy, and I think he is a lot more skilled than Lee Wood, but Lee Wood showed some serious grit in that fight to get knocked down. Was it the first or the second round?
To be fair, that shot was working all night.
That over the top, that left hand
it's
over the top,
looper over the top. I do think if he goes back into a training camp, that doesn't catch him.
You know what? If he gets hit with that shot ever again in his career, he just give it up. That was a heavy shot, and I think it was the first round, was it, or the second? It was early, but for 2-3 rounds after that, Lee Wood did not know where he was.
Didn't know where he was.
And
he what stage he was in.
Came back and put it on Mick, and to finish him like he'd finished him,
I thought he lost the first round up until that shot hit him.
Lee
Came out of
Wood.
nowhere.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
bossing it.
Yeah, but the whole fight I was watching, and we were watching it from ringside, and Mick's defense in close and everything about his performance was just unbelievable. And I think, well, he was up on the scorecards, but I thought he bossed the fight from the knockdown up until probably till he got a little bit tired, 10, 11, and then 12. Obviously, the knockout happened, but yeah, like probably about a minute and a half it was left of becoming world champion. He was ahead on the scorecards, and
he was definitely ahead. He was definitely ahead. I just have a feeling that if it was to ever happen again, I just don't think he gets caught with that same shot.
yeah, no, surely not.
Like, you know, so I mean, that was the only shot that was really working. I know he was winning. He was more technical. He was landing more shots, but it was that one there. You just feared if that catches him again, he's not going to stay up.
Yeah,
he showed some great fair play to him. It was a decent showing.
He'd actually said in the lead up, if you're still standing in the 12th round, guess what? I'm going to knock you out in the 12th round, and that's exactly what he did. And he it would have been easy for him, like getting knocked down in the first round, behind on the scorecards, going into the last round, going, tonight's just not my night, you know. But he stayed with it, and he got the knockout with a minute to go. So fair play to him.
So that was to be fair, that was the only blemish on a good day for Irish sport. To be fair, Thomas Carty was on that night, wasn't he?
Thomas won earlier on in that card. I think he was won the second fight, I think, and Kevin Hines as well. He would have been a mate of myself and Thomas.
He's a Belfast boy, is he?
Belfast, yeah.
He had a good night as well, didn't he?
He co-main event, and I think he's at 10-0, 11-0 now. So he's early on in his career, and he was co-main of a big show as well. So it was a big step up, as in stage wise for him. So it was a big stage, and he had to put in a performance. But yeah, he's flying now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings you to exactly where you are now. And before we move on, well, let's have a little chat about your best. You said that was probably your best live bout, Mickey Conlon and Lee Wood live. What's your best favourite bout ever? Most exciting?
Most exciting? Probably like one of the Gatty Wards or one of them. Hearns and Hagler as well.
I was only watching Hearns and Hagler last night. It was on one of the old reels, and he just kept going on. They all fought each other. Them Duran, they all fought each other so many
Sugar
times.
Ray was there at that time as well, wasn't he?
They were all beating and losing to each other, weren't they? Constantly.
But it's like the UFC, isn't it? You're fighting. You might lose, but it doesn't put you back too far. You come back and you fight.
You're fighting the best.
Exactly.
You know, when they're not afraid to lose, they're not holding on to the. You know, and boxing.
Well, even in boxing, there's these guys now who like lightweight. There's like in my weight, especially, there's like 4 or 5 big names, and none of them have fought each other yet.
Yeah.
But if the 5 of them just go into a league, one might beat one week, and then the other guy might beat the other guy. Not one person, I don't think, will remain undefeated in the whole league. You know, because at the highest level, it's so close. Like so. I think they did the right thing back then. Like they just everybody fought everybody. The best fought the best, and
to be fair, I think my favourite now was Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn. I thought that was an absolute cracker.
Yeah, that was a. You'd
have only been small.
Yeah, I've never actually seen that.
No, you've got to get on YouTube when you get home tonight. 1995, I think it was. I think it was February 25th. I think it was my birthday actually. I was in the pub. Probably wasn't 18. I think it was about 17. But the best night of my life. I just think it was the best. But after the first round, you see Ben going through the ropes, and it was unbelievable.
I tell you what, Katie last week or the week before didn't do bad either. Didn't do too bad. So I think hers was one of the most exciting I'd ever seen.
Well, to be fair, that's the type of style she has. She don't mind a tear up. She'll sit there and leave her head down to get thrown up all day, won't she?
And usually I'm actually more inclined to the Mayweathers watch that type of boxing. Where it's hitting, don't get hitting. A lot of people who aren't into the sport might say it's a bit boring.
They won't appreciate that.
Yeah, and the Lomachenko's, the angles and the technical side of boxing, you know. But it's obviously good to see a tear up every now and then again. But
it's good to see a tear up. To be
just
fair,
not be involved in too many.
You know, you're looking at the angles. You mentioned the angles there. That's what makes boxing good when you can understand it. But to be fair, it doesn't work unless you've got good footwork. And to be fair, even when I look back on some of your own bouts there, you pivot off the front foot and throw that little hook over the top. It's a peach, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I actually always say boxing is probably 80-90% feet. People always think it's just two fellas standing in front of each other hitting each other if you're not into it, like throwing hands. But even when you're throwing punches, your power comes from your feet, your hips, you're turning your hips. your technique, everything comes from your feet first, and then obviously if your feet don't move and you don't move out of the way, you're going to get hit back as well. So it's your main defense is your feet as well, you know.
Oh, I'd be missing shots. I'd have to look back at the replay because someone like, did you see that? No, I was too busy looking at his pivot on the front foot. Or,
you know, appreciate the footwork.
Oh yeah, love it.
Yeah,
I think
for
it's the best bit about it. Must be the dancer in me.
I've learned a few moves from you, Johnny. Dance, exercise to music. Don't worry about that.
Do you remember
it? I won't show them here today anyway, I tell you that.
Fair play. Okay, so I say we met in 2019, right at the very end, just before you became Irish champion. You did do a course, a fitness course. What made you decide? What was the decision process in you coming and getting a PT cert?
I've been in gyms since like I said, I stepped foot in the boxing gym from 7, and from then I've just been into training. Like, so I'm even when I fight, like I'll fight on a Saturday, and Pete and I'll my biggest problem, what I get in the most trouble for is training too much. I fight on a Saturday, and by the Tuesday I'm in the gym, but it's different type of training. I like doing what I call bro sessions or bicep curls, and like I can't really do them when I'm preparing for a fight because we're working on certain aspects of even my strength training is geared towards fighting, plyometrics and all that kind of stuff. So I can't really just go into the gym and lift weights and feel strong. And I've always wanted to. I suppose when I was only young, like 14, 15, I would have been very skinny, and I would have been like probably picked on a little bit for being so skinny and so small. And like I said to you, when I was fighting even in the European Championships in 2013, I was probably 6 foot and 52 kilos, so I was very, very skinny at that time as well. And always been into the weight side of things and getting strong and feeling strong, and just the more and more time that passed, I've got more and more into the fitness side of things. Like I started off in just boxing and wanting to know more about boxing, but then I obviously got into the strength side of things and fitness, and then met Niall, who coaches me, learned so much from him as well about coaching and about fitness, about nutrition and sleep, recovery, all these things, and it just got me more and more interested. And then plans, like I would like to coach eventually. I don't have the time for it right now because I'm so focused on one thing and one goal. But eventually, when I finish boxing, I'd like to go into coaching and own a gym and coach people and stuff like that. So yeah, I was actually at the time when I did just before I did the course, I was doing a couple of PTs, as in teaching people how to box, and a couple of boxing sessions. It was the time when I was injured, so I was out of the ring. I wasn't making money. I was injured for 6 months, so I decided to use the time wisely and coach a few people and teach people to box. But obviously to do that in the gym, I had to be insured, so I had to go and get a certificate. So that's initially why I went and did that, was to just get insurance to coach people how to box. But like I said to you, I've always been into the weight side of things, to the strength side of things, the fitness side of things. So that was an interest to me as well, and went in and enjoyed all that. And I'd like to eventually go on and coach.
It's to be fair, it's two different things, isn't it? Like the moment your focus is on your boxing career, you can't. Your focus has to be on you. Your training. How are you preparing yourself, and how are you, even when you haven't got a fight announced or anything like that, you've got to stay in sort of shape. You've got to have a regime. You've got to put yourself first. I think sometimes as a coach or a good coach, you kind of put your clients first. And you're on the back foot. That's my excuse anyway for being out. So you're in a total sort of different sort of period of your career at the moment to actually put all your focus on other people. You've got to be a little bit selfish, a little bit one-tracked, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. And it's a very short career as well. So like early 30s, you're finished and you're looking back on memories for the rest of your life. So I just don't want to finish and then to be able to have to say, I would have done that, but I put time into coaching, or I shouldn't have went coaching, or I shouldn't have went PT, I shouldn't have done this. So for the next 4, 5, 6 years, I just want to put everything in. I obviously have my qualification, and I live in the gym in Nice. Like that's where my friends are. That's where I hang out as well. So just the people I'm around in there. I'm friends with the coaches. I'm friends with the clients, and I learned so much from even just being around that. So I like being around that environment, and it's somewhere that, like I said, it's a short career, and I'll be finished boxing when I'm 32, 33. So it's something that I'd like to involve myself with for ongoing for the rest of my life. So
You don't see yourself sitting in a ring at the age of 36 taking punches off up and comers, no?
No, I would like as much of a legend as Miguel Vasquez is. I don't want to be a Vasquez, like, you know what I mean? I want to get out 32, 33 at the oldest, rich and healthy, and
Yeah. Well, I suppose I was going to say, you know, world champion if or when, but you've kind of already answered that. Is definitely going to be a matter of time, isn't it?
yeah. I'm ranked number 5 with the WBA now, after the Vasquez fight, and number 8 with the WBO. So I'm looking at maybe 1, maybe 2 more fights and getting into a mandatory position. I always say I probably will have to get into a mandatory position, because there's not many lightweights out there that want to fight a 6'2" southpaw. That's every opponent's nightmare. So
I mean, there's not many people who are even saying that. There's nobody sitting around having a conversation now saying there's a good lightweight, you know, who's 6'2" and happens to be a southpaw. Yeah,
and he's knocked out 3 of his last 4. So
yeah, people are just having nightmares over that.
Yeah. So it's like, right, yeah, you tell him to go and get into mandatory position, and when I have to fight him, then I'll fight him. So I'm gonna have to force myself into a mandatory position. I'm in a nice place now where I'm ranked highly with 2 of the bodies. Like to get, like I said, into number 2, number 3 in the next fight or two, into a mandatory position, and then challenge and win my first world title.
Yeah. And it goes back to the olden days, like you say, people weren't afraid to test themselves, to say, you know, well, I beat the best, I got in with the best. And, you know, unfortunately, those guys just aren't around at the moment, are they? So no one's taking chances.
You know what? There's so much business involved now as well, where there's different promoters, there's different broadcasters, there's so much money involved as well, where like you're talking tens of millions for fighting these guys. Some of them, like some of the big names, you know. So when there's big money like that involved, there's always going to be a little bit harder to do business. When one guy thinks he deserves 60% of the purse split, 60-40 in his way, that's with Spence and Crawford, the two best at 147 at the moment. Probably in the olden days they would have fought by now, but Spence thinks he deserves 60% of the split. Crawford wants 60%, and they both want to give each other 40. Instead of just stepping up doing 50-50, you're talking
50-50.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? You're talking maybe 20-30 million here. They're talking about the purse split, so it's big money. But
the trouble is, by the time it actually happens, it happens too late half the time, isn't it?
Yeah, like Crawford's 34 now. I think Spence is 33 as well. So they need to do that in the next year, or else it's like Mayweather and Pacquiao, and that happened.
We're seeing it when we don't want to see it.
Yeah.
In fact, the outcome is almost irrelevant, because it should have happened.
Exactly.
You know, it's disappointing, isn't it? That's the downside of the game, isn't it?
Yeah, but like I said, when there's so much money involved, and one guy thinks boxing there's a lot of big egos in boxing as well, you know. So one guy thinks he's the bigger draw. This guy thinks he's the bigger draw, and that's unfortunately why we don't see some of the big fights.
How big is your ego?
At times can be very big. I know when to channel it in when I have to, though.
What about the Diva? Who originally named you that?
Lee, and he promoted the first couple of shows I was on. I don't even, do you know what, it was one day he just came out and said, I think I'd said something, I wanted something done, and before one of the days before the fights I needed something, or like Lee was the guy who, if you're in fight week, you need anything, you go to Lee, you know. So Lee was looking after me. I went to Lee, was looking for something the day of a fight, and he just called me a diva. And then I always make a joke. I said all they asked for was a walk-in wardrobe in my hotel room, like, you know what I mean. But it wasn't even. It was just he'd made a joke one day, and then I said, you know what, my next fight I'm going to show up here with pink shorts and the diva on the shorts. He didn't believe me, obviously, and then the next fight I went up, and then it stuck ever since. But like, we always laugh about it because it couldn't be further from the truth. Like, I'm the complete opposite. I feel like I'm very easy to work with, and I train like extremely hard. I train the hardest in the gym. I train too much probably sometimes. Like things to be done correctly. So, and I'm not afraid to say that. And if somebody's not pulling their weight, or somebody on the team or somebody in the gym is not pulling their weight, I'm not afraid to pull them up on it. So maybe that's where it comes from a little bit.
It's more about standards.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody probably should have called Roy Keane a diva.
Exactly. If you want to, that's what it's really about, operating at the highest level. And for me, it's like, it's a job, and it's how I earn my money. So if I see somebody in the gym and they're not pulling their weight, or they're doing this and they think it's a joke or a hobby, like, you know what I mean? It's not a joke or a hobby for me. It's my way of life, and it's how I make my money. So I want everything being done correctly. I go to get massage once every 2 weeks. I float once a week in flotation tanks in Nice, Sleevaha Flow House. Yoga 2-3 times a week. Ice baths, nutrition on point, all my supplements on point, and I train hard. Like, so I do things properly, and I want in turn then I want to see, if you're training with me, if you're in the same gym as me at the same time, you do as much as I'm doing. I try to pull people on as well. So
I was having a conversation with a young lad. You probably won't mind me saying it, young Aaron in Unit 3 there with you.
Aaron Clark, yeah.
He's a professional K1.
K1.
But he was saying about his training. He reckons his training has come on leaps and bounds, being alongside you and looking at the amount of effort. He said, I used to think I used to train hard until I seen what Gary Cully does, and he says I had to pull my finger out and up my game a little bit.
Yeah, Aaron's of that. He's come on to our level now, and he's pushing. But we always, if somebody comes to the gym for the first time, especially if they're from another gym, they really we think that it's completely different. What the thing we have going on in Unit 3 and what we do down there is next level. We train hard, we all pull each other on, and I think when people come in and see the standard that we set in Unit 3, they kind of get a little bit pushed back, taken aback, because people think they're training hard, and then they come in and they train with us and they realise what hard work is. But Aaron's came in with us, mate. He's over a year with us now, and he's had one fight and probably the performance of his career. And I just say to him, just keep following the process. It's a certain process we have down there, and just follow the process, trust the process.
He's a big night coming up now this month, doesn't he? At the end of the month,
he's out on the 28th of May,
It's over in Birmingham.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that.
Will you be heading over to that one?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Looking forward to going over. He's fighting a guy from over there.
I'll have to see if I can get cover on the Saturday. Somebody might teach.
Yeah, you're going to
for me
jump on and come over.
It'd be nice to see it, yeah.
Yeah, no, Aaron's for that game, I believe he's operating at a high level, at the highest level in that game. So obviously, I don't think there's as much opportunities for them, as it's a smaller sport. There's not as much money being pumped into it.
Yeah, it's only growing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think there's one certain championship, one certain organisation, one championship, and if you get in there, you can earn life-changing money. But before you're in there, you may be fighting for a couple of £100, or you might not even be getting paid for some fight, So I think if the spotlight gets shone on it a little bit more and more money gets pumped into it, it's only a matter of time before you see Aaron involved in big shows, whether it be over here or else whether he signs with one championship in a couple of fights and pushes on with them.
He's kind of getting noticed. He was delighted with himself there. You'd be in the gym and a guy will recognise him and come over and start to get noticed. You can see him delighted with life. He does speak.
It's always a good feeling.
But he's always talking about the Unit 3, and like he says, they all work hard, but they all get on their one big happy family, and they all look after each other, and they've all got the best interest at heart and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, he's
loving it.
It's a big reason behind my success. I've been there from day one when it opened. It's there, and it'll be their 5th birthday now in August. Niall is obviously a co-owner. I train with Niall back since I'm 13 or 14 in St. David's Boxing Club in Nice. And then he moved on to a different gym. He's PT now of a different gym, and I used to train with him in there as well. And then from day one of Unit 3, I've been there. And just to stand, like I said, it's not only the standards, it's the coaching, the guys who are down there, the vibe down there is it's very much community based, and everybody down there is, whether it be clients, team members, coaches, it's all very close knit, and it's very nice to be a part of, So massive part of my success as well.
Anybody
Shout
coming
out
in
to all the
just
Unit
seeing...
3 gang.
Say it again, sorry?
Shout out to all the Unit 3 gang.
Big shout out to Unit 3, eh? No, to be fair, I was only having this conversation with actually Lorcan there a little while back. I think we done an L fitness test down there in Flyfit.
Yeah.
The Astran treadmill test, and you jumps on there, and you know, you're going up 1 degree on the incline every 2 minutes, and you bang it out. You max it out first and foremost, and then continue to run on for another 30 minutes before you get bored. Like, wear Nike Air Max.
Wearing a pair of Air Max.
Not even proper runner.
Yeah, honestly, I was wearing a pair of Air Max, and I literally just got off because I got bored. But
I think you looked over your shoulder, everyone had gone for lunch. You know?
Yeah, Lorcan was standing beside me. I said, I better get off.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, we've been doing that was before the first lockdown, but we've been, like I said to you, the crazy runs we've been doing and conditioning work. The sort of work we do down in Nason Unit 3 is like I try and pride myself on being so well conditioned, and I actually would go as far as saying I'm the best conditioned athlete in the country. I believe that all around strength, fitness, conditioning wise. Probably should enter a few CrossFit competitions, but
let's not talk about CrossFit now.
It's a taboo subject up here.
No, I don't like CrossFit. Yeah,
but no, I like to pride myself on how well conditioned I am. We, like I said, we work hard, and that day in the fitness test with Lorcan, he's been talking about it ever since. But
I don't know what's up. I thought he just because I've done it loads of times since, and lads, you get fit lads who complete it. To the top, and they do the 3 minute or the 2 minutes at the maximum height, and they go, enough's enough, I've done that, and then they'll be gasping. And when I tell them about a certain past student who continued on for 30 minutes and got bored, and he was wearing Nike Air Max, they just get sick of it.
Yeah, I remember we used to go to cross country competitions with the school. Myself and a guy who I used to box with out of Portlaoise, we ended up being at the same Leinster Championships cross country one day. Seeing all these guys with their spikes on and or running shoes on, their shorts, their vests. We showed up, and because boxers, I don't know if it's boxers or it was just us, but hoodies on, tracksuit bottoms on, and tracksuit bottoms tucked into the socks, ready to go for Leinster Cross Country Championships. 2 of us ended up finishing, I think, 10th and 11th or something, qualify for the All Irelands. All these guys with their running shoes and their vests and their shorts, but that's just conditioned from running with sweatsuits and running with tracksuit bottoms and.
Yeah.
But yeah, the boxer's way of life.
And a skipping rope in your hand from before you even run, you're skipping at the age of 7. You learn to skip.
Yeah,
with a rope that's 20 foot too long.
Honestly, God, and 2 fucking. Should we now curse on this? No.
Oh well, yeah, absolutely, you have
to. Just did so. Too heavy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's way too heavy.
Yeah, shoulders falling off you after 2 minutes.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you look at somebody trying to skip and then you see a boxer does it, they make it look so easy.
Yeah.
And skipping can be an anaerobic exercise for some people, but for a boxer, he just...
All day. Do you know, with me, it's shoulders that get sore first. Maybe after 5 or 10 minutes, your shoulders start getting tired.
And that'll be posture, because you're just holding up your shoulders a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
There's an old guy, his name escapes me now, but he must have been in his 70s. And he used to come to a gym over in Liffey Valley Fitness where I used to work. Pat, and I go and see him, an old boxer.
Yeah.
But I walk in, he used to put the frights up me because I'd be walking and his feet would be up on the window ledge. And he'd be down doing press-ups like that. And I'd go in, what are you doing, Pat? I love this. It makes me feel alive. I say, do me a favour, just bring your feet onto the ground and do your push-ups, will you, buddy? Or do it the other way around. Put your hands on the window ledge.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like the biggest 70s man. But he skipped for 20 minutes. He put a little stopwatch there for 20 minutes. And when it stops, he's done. 20 minutes skipping.
No way.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a good tool for fitness.
Unbelievable.
For sure. Yeah, no.
Underrated.
Yeah, for sure. But like I said, we've been boxers using them for years and years. You just become it's like nothing now. It's like jogging on the spot or whatever because you're just skipping, but they're really good.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so let's have a little look at what's a typical day for Gary, for an elite athlete. Okay, so we've got a professional athlete. What does his or her day look like?
Monday to Friday, I box every morning, 10 or 11 o'clock, whether it be in Unit 3 in Nice or Coliseum in Dublin. So morning session is, so I'm up at about 9 o'clock. training's between 10 some days, 11 some days. So 90% of the time it's 11. Wake up at 9 o'clock. Meditate for 10 minutes every day. It just feel like it gets my day off to a fresh start. So every day can start fresh then, where you're opening up the new book on the book on a new page, should I say, where it's not every day just rolling into the one, So every day.
So where does that meditation happen then?
In my bedroom. I get up, I walk around, go to the toilet, make sure I'm awake first, because otherwise I'll just fall back asleep when I'm meditating, So make sure I'm up and I'm awake, probably make the bed and get dressed, and then onto the bed, meditate 10 to 15 minutes. Get up, get the gear ready for training, out the door, train at 11 o'clock, and then grab a little bit of lunch, go back, training then at 4 o'clock usually. Monday will be strength, Tuesday will be aerobic conditioning, Wednesday will be plyo, so power work, power development. Thursday will be conditioning again, and then finish Friday with either strength or core work. So 10 sessions a week, and then on a Wednesday we go 11 a.m. is boxing, and then we go to Minute to Infinity Recovery Centre, get in the ice bath, put the compression boots on, get in the sauna, the hot tub, cold water therapy and hot water therapy. We do that every week, every Wednesday in Infinity. And then a Saturday morning I do yoga, and probably one other day during the week then I do yoga as well. So 10 sessions a week, 2 yoga sessions, recovery session every week. Have to float once a week as well, at least once a week. I like to try and do it twice if I get in the flow of them. And then massages once every 2 weeks, and obviously prepping food on a Sunday and everything else. But I spend Sundays all day getting ready for Monday, so I only really have a Saturday evening off, because I'm training Monday to Friday, yoga on a Saturday morning, have the rest of Saturday off, then chill out. Sunday morning off, chill out, don't have to get up early on a Sunday morning obviously, and then spend Sunday evening planning Monday and planning my week, have to get my, like I said, my massage in, my recovery centre in, yoga in, to get my hair cut in every week.
You have to get my weekly haircut. And does the Diva do his own food prep, does he?
Yeah, between them and NutriQuick food prep, I eat a lot of NutriQuicks, they sponsor me, so between eating NutriQuicks, sometimes I like to go on a few weeks of where I like to cook, and I like to get adventurous as well, so there might be only a certain, like 6 or 8 maybe different types of NutriQuick. So if I'm after eating them for a couple of weeks, I like to change it up and prep my own food then for
take a couple of weeks off,
couple of weeks. But I'll still eat healthy, I'll still make sure everything's prepped, and I cook everything. I know what's going into everything as well. So I don't count calories, but I don't count macros, anything like that. But I just know that I know when I'm on track and when I'm eating healthy. You know
what foods are good and what.
Exactly.
You've gone through a training camp. You got yourself in the best position you've ever got. You go and have the night of your life, and you probably get another knockout. You go and treat yourself to a dinner. What's that meal going to be?
I was only having this conversation with my missus yesterday. That, like, Nando's is my number one pound for pound. Like,
is it?
Yeah, I'm Nando's once or twice every week. Like,
don't see the fuss.
Yeah, and she doesn't either. She'll come with me and she likes it, but I love it. Like, Nando's is number one.
So if the two of you want to go out and to get something not a nice restaurant, but the two of you just want some food, you're calling for Nando's. What's she calling for?
What's she calling for? Probably, like, she likes an Eddie Rockets. Like, we're talking about, like, going into Liffey Valley and going for a handy food, and then the cinema. Like, if we're not going out for a fancy meal, just handy food, I'll go Nando's, she'll go Eddie Rockets.
Yeah, and I'm Eddie Rockets all day long. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
nice burger, nice milkshake.
I like Eddie Rockets as well. A little tender basket, to be fair, but Nando's makes me feel like I'm being healthy. Even though I'm into Nando's and it's chicken thighs and all the carbs. Like, I'm nearly every side on the menu, but I like to feel a little bit healthy when I'm eating an Nando's.
Yeah, it doesn't feel so bad, does it?
No, definitely.
Mind you, it's supposed to be a cheat though, isn't it? It's supposed to be, it doesn't always have to be good for you. I love a Supermax as well.
Yeah, you're Mullingar, of course. You'd love a Supermax.
I love it.
Mullingar and Galway is Supermax, isn't it?
I love a Supermax.
Yeah, I haven't had Supermax in years. There's actually one in Maynooth. I live 5 minutes from Maynooth. There's a Supermax in Maynooth, but
See,
I haven't had it in years. Yeah, it's actually. I remember it being nice. Like, to be fair.
You mentioned the old pink there when you first called the Diva. The next time I'm going to go in, I was telling the wife there. I says I'm speaking with Gary there on Monday. She says, ask him if I can get that top off him. She loved it. She did. Your pink outfit.
The last one. Yeah.
Sparkly as well, not just pink, sparkly.
And frills on it as well. yeah. And we got a few good and a few bad comments on that one, but
there's no such thing as bad comments.
No, well, yeah. I like the flash, you know. I like sticking out, and I like people remember you for the. First of all, they see the kit, so they're going to remember for that. But then put in the performance. I always say, if you wear a kit like that, you can't lose. Like, you know what I mean? You can't go in and be losing wearing a kit like that.
You don't even want to go the distance to it.
No, exactly. You don't want people saying anything, so you have to put in a punch perfect performance. So I like a little bit of added pressure, but yeah, no.
Okay, so we mentioned boxing. Actually, I'm going to come back to that. So I said my favourite fight would have been Chris Eubank, Nigel Benn. That era of boxing I thought was amazing. You said, you probably Ward Gatto or something like that. But then you mentioned, the type of boxer you like to watch, Mayweather. If I was going to ask you now for one name, your favourite boxer ever, who would it be?
I always say Mayweather, my favourite boxer of all time, but Prince Nassim Hamid as well.
He's a man. That's
my one or the other. Prince Nassim was so good. Just the showmanship and how he entertained, and as well how he fought. Like he was a featherweight and he used to punch like a heavyweight. He used to knock people out for fun.
Big legs. He could have gone division after division after division.
I'd say he would be heavyweight now. You ever see him now?
Well, see the size of his quads on him now. He used to wear tassels on his shoulders.
Yeah, and that's probably where I get the whole flash kits from as well. Watching him.
Leopard skin, no?
Oh, do you know what? I've actually planned one, but it has to be pink leopard skin. I've had a pink leopard skin one.
Nice.
There you go. So
you not worn it yet?
No, I've had one. The Simeon fight was pink leopard skin.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Did it have tassels?
No, it didn't have tassels.
So you want pink leopard skin
tassels, diamonds as well. Shout out Susie Wong. Susie Wong has a work cut out for my next kit.
Absolutely. Give her another shout out.
Yeah, I did already. Shout out Susie Wong.
Brilliant. So that's a no. She's not having the top then. I'll just tell her. He said no. He needs it.
That's going to be framed in a gym or in a I don't know, man cave or cinema room or something one day.
Sure, it'll have to be a mansion now.
Yeah, well, it'll have to be fairly big because that top itself, that kit would be a big frame, like, you know.
So take up a wall.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're gonna have some cave anyway, aren't you? Let's be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so listen, we'll probably wrap her up now. If you've got obviously you were a young pro. You decided there that you weren't going to commit another cycle and try for Tokyo, wasn't it? The Olympics. So you decided then that, you're going to turn pro. There's a 17, 18, 19-year-old now who wants to become a professional boxer. What advice would you give for him?
Make sure you know what you're getting into before you get into it. Like there's going to be more at the start, especially. There's going to be more obstacles and more blows than there will be highs. I've had fights in my career where, like I said, I mentioned 2, but there could have been 4 or 5 where opponents pull out the week of the fight or the day before the fight. My second or third pro fight, the show was cancelled the day before. You'll have opponent pull out, shows cancelled. And it's hard, like, don't get into it. And I've fought for free a couple of times, even in my professional career. I've had to have a couple of fights for free. Don't get into it. And I've actually talked to guys before who, I'm going to turn pro, and after my debut I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy this and I'm going to buy this. And people think it's like, you hear professional and you think it's glamorous, but it's furthest from it. This is the best dressed I've been in about a month because I'm coming in here to do this podcast. I just live in shorts and vests and t-shirts and just constantly sweating and in gyms, and that's the life you have to live if you want to get anywhere with it. If you want to mess around with it and just do it as a hobby, go ahead, but you get hurt if you do it as a hobby, If you want to take it seriously and you want to go somewhere in it, it has to take 100% take over your life, take over everything. I've missed out on 6-year holidays as so many lads' holidays and going away with the missus on a certain weekend or whatever, because boxing comes first and the goal in mind comes first before anything else.
Massive sacrifice, isn't it?
Yeah, huge. But you have to love it as well, because if you don't, there's no point in doing it.
I don't think anyone ever sees it as a business. You hear about Money Mayweather, he loves the game. You hear about Chris Eubank. It's just a business. It's not a business. He loved boxing. You wouldn't do it. You couldn't get punched in the face unless you like it. You're getting up training every single day. You're running
at 2-3 degrees in winter, running at 6 in the morning.
Every time I see a clip of you, you're running up the edge of a mountain.
Yeah, honestly, and the hill runs and like just it's. I like it all. I like feeling uncomfortable. I like feeling like shit. I like when training gets hard and it starts feeling hard and shit. Like I like it because I know everybody else feels like that. If I'm training in a group, we do aerobic sessions on a Tuesday evening in Unit 3, and there could be 8 or 10 of us doing the session at a time. But when I start feeling shit, the sessions are 30 minutes. And when I start feeling shit after 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I know everybody's like me but worse. So that's when I push on harder, because I try and if I step out in front, I like to put my foot in their neck then and keep pushing and keep going. And then after the 30 minutes, I always say, right, they always call time. I say, no, we're going 5 more minutes, and I always push them to go 5 more minutes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're horrible.
I like suffering. Yeah.
To be fair, it takes a certain class of person. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I'm even on your level, but I can remember we were doing for charity. We were doing a cycle coming back from Belfast to Dublin, and I seen my brother-in-law up ahead now. What happened? We were stopping for a cup of tea or whatever, and then I'd take an extra 5 minutes and let the guys go off, because half of them were jumping in the van with a bike anyway and getting a lift. So I was one of the very few who was staying on my bike the whole time.
Yeah.
Just out of pure stubbornness. I wasn't even good at cycling. But anyway, I seen him up ahead and I was catching him going up a hill. So I was up on my toes, giving up. And when just as I passed him, I dropped down the gate, sat on my seat and passed him there, looking at him going, Jesus, a tough fucking and he just croaked. He jumped off his bike and jumped straight into the van and put me up.
Yeah, that was a win for you there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was one of my best moments. It was just big sick.
Yeah. It's that mindset of that. I do have that mindset of. I always I'm a front runner. I get on if we're doing any races or time events or any sort of sessions where there's competition or race involved. I start in front. I'll take the lead at the start, and once I take the lead, then you're not catching me. That's my mindset. I lead from the front, but then I won't get caught. Like so, we did a session last week. It was like a mini triathlon. So we did a 5k run, and then we did a 15k cycle and a 500 meter swim. And we all had stopwatches on. We did it for time, and it was myself, Niall, a couple of the coaches, and a couple of the lads. Aaron was there, but he didn't do it because he's a fight next week. He's tapering. But there's one guy from the gym, Connor. He's a coach in the gym, good friend of mine. But he was pretty confident. He'd never seen me cycle and never seen me swim before. He knows I'm a good runner, obviously. I was shit talking all week that he was going to win this triathlon. Like he got me. In fairness, he got me really up for it. Like, so he was pretty confident. He was asked, "Can you cycle? Can you swim?" I was, "What do you mean? Can I cycle? Can I cycle without stabilizers? Is that what you mean? Because of course I can cycle. I'm 26 years of age. Of course I can cycle. But
swim or float twice a week.
Yeah, swim like. But yeah, no, he got me up for it, and we went on it last week and. There was a bit of competitiveness before, and then even during it, I remember I was on the treadmill beside him, and I started mine off, and I just went to 23 on the treadmill straight off the bat. I just went up to 23. I was like, I'm going to kill him from the start. Went to 23, and he was telling me he's going to get a PB, a 5k PB, which would have been 19 and a half. He was looking for him, so he started on 15 and a half, which is a good 5k time, yeah. So. I went up to 23 and ran 23 for maybe a minute, and then dropped it down to 20, and then dropped it down to 18. And by the time I dropped it down to 18, I could see Connor tapping his thing, dropping it down to 15. And I just looked at him and kind of gave him a little, like, let him know I was looking, and I seen what he did, And I loved all that type, the little mind games and the little
You see him knocking it down, and all of a sudden you get a little spring in your step. It's
spring in my step and go harder. But I think I maybe beat him by 3 minutes on the run, and then we got onto the bikes, and I remember shouting. He was on a bike over the other side of the gym then, and it was a public gym. We all just paid into this gym just to do this, like. So it was there was other people training there and stuff, and shouted over to him from the other side of the gym. You saying I can't cycle? Is that what you're saying? You saying I can't cycle? And then ended up getting into the cycle. I said, right, I need to get into the pool and get as many lengths done, because swimming. I knew he swims quite regularly. Yeah, he quite a strong swimmer, and he told me 2 days before we went and did this. He went and did half of everything. So we did the 2.5K cycle, run, cycle, swim. And I was like, he could possibly, I was nervous. Like, I was like, he could possibly catch me on this swim. So you just need to get into the water and get as many lengths without stopping before he gets in. So I got into the water, and I think I got 4 or 5 lengths. And then Niall got in, and I stopped them when Niall got in. And after the 5 lengths, I thought I wasn't going to be able to. I was like, there's 15 left here. I didn't think I could do another one. Then Conor got in. I was maybe on 6 lengths, and I just did 1, 2 up, set. And Aaron was, thank God for Aaron, he was actually there watching and supporting us and helping us, and come over with me water. Every two lengths I did, came over with my water. I'd sit with him for 10, 20 seconds, take a couple of breaths, take a drink of water, up and down again. And I ended up beating Conor by 2 or 3 minutes. But I love that little bit of competitivenveness and that drive that makes you, when someone's getting at you and thinking or telling you they're going to beat you or something like that, it's makes it a little bit more exciting, you know.
Makes it interesting, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, especially when you get one over on them, absolutely.
And that's about 10 or 12 I have over on Conor. So
if you don't give it up yet, no?
He hasn't beat me yet anyway, so he should be close to giving up, I'd say.
There's a first for everything. Well, Gary, I could sit here and chops all night, buddy. Honest God, it's a pleasure to have you in, pal. Let's not leave it too long before you come back and have a chat with us. So you probably got, like you say, a big year next year to sort of move into that mandatory position.
Mm-hmm. I'll come in with the belts then.
Come in with the belt. We'll try and get you in before you're the world champion, because we might find it hard to get a hold of you then after that.
Yeah, maybe so. Maybe so. They say people change when they get this. No, I'll be grand, Johnny. You're saying I have a big ego as well, but I'll be grand. I'll get into you before I win the world title, and get into you for a little chat afterwards as well, of course.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Well, listen, thanks very much for joining us.
Appreciate that, Johnny. Thank you for having me.
You're
great to chat as always.
Thanks a million. Oh, one last final question. Adam, would you take him?
I don't know, to be honest. He looks like he has a bit about him there, to be fair. He's been throwing shapes there when we were...
like a roughie, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's been throwing shapes there when we were chatting as well, so I don't know. But...
Right, thanks a million, man. Great to have you.
Nice one, Johnny.
Cheers.